The lawsuit was sitting on my kitchen counter when I got home from physical therapy. I picked it up with shaking hands, still wearing my arm sling from the car accident 3 months ago that had shattered my collarbone and fractured 2 ribs. Harassment and emotional distress. Multiple incidents across 2 counties. September through November 2023. My sister was suing me. Not just suing me claiming I'd been following her, showing up at her workplace, driving past her house at night, sending threatening messages. The dollar amount at the bottom made my stomach drop. $250,000 in damages. I stared at the dates listed in the complaint. September 15th, September 28th, October 3rd, 7th, 12th, 19th, November 2nd, 8th, 14th. My hands went numb. I knew exactly where I was on every single one of those dates, and it wasn't anywhere near my sister Jennifer. The hearing was set for 2 weeks out. I called my insurance company, begging them to provide a lawyer. They told me harassment cases weren't covered under my policy. I'd be representing myself. I spent those 2 weeks gathering every piece of documentation I could find. Medical records, pharmacy receipts, physical therapy, appointment logs. I made copies of everything, organized them by date in a 3-ring binder with color-coded tabs. The night before the hearing, I barely slept. My shoulder throbbed where the metal pins held my collarbone together. I kept thinking about Jennifer, how we'd been close as kids, how something had changed after our parents died and left us the family cabin in Big Bear. She'd wanted to sell it immediately, split the money. I'd wanted to keep it, the last place that still smelled like Mom's lavender soap and Dad's pipe tobacco. We'd agreed I could buy out her half. I'd scraped together every penny I had, taken out a small personal loan. The cabin was mine now, legally. But Jennifer had been furious when she found out property values in that area had doubled since the appraisal. She'd tried to claim the sale was unfair, that I'd manipulated her. A judge had dismissed that case within minutes. Now this. I arrived at the courthouse 30 minutes early, my binder clutched to my chest. The October morning was cold, and I'd worn my most professional outfit, a navy blazer over a cream blouse, though getting my injured arm through the sleeve had taken 10 painful minutes. Jennifer was already there, sitting on a bench in the hallway with her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in a gray suit. Jennifer had her testimony face on sad eyes, trembling lip, the same expression she'd used when we were teenagers and she'd wanted to convince our parents that something was my fault and not hers. She didn't look at me. When they called our case, we filed into the courtroom. The judge was a black woman in her 50s, with glasses, and an expression that suggested she'd seen every possible variation of family drama and wasn't impressed by any of it. "This is a preliminary hearing," Judge Morrison said. "Miss Jennifer Patterson, you're the plaintiff. You've alleged your sister." She glanced at the papers. "Sarah Patterson has engaged in a pattern of harassment. You're representing yourself today, Miss Sarah Patterson?" "Yes, Your Honor." My voice came out steadier than I expected. "Miss Jennifer Patterson, you have counsel. Miss Reeves, you may proceed." Jennifer's lawyer stood. She was polished, confident, exactly the kind of person you'd hire if you wanted to look like a victim. "Your Honor, my client has been living in fear for the past 3 months. Her sister has refused to accept the boundaries Jennifer has tried to set. Despite repeated requests to leave her alone, Sarah has continued to appear at Jennifer's workplace, drive past her home, and send disturbing communications. We have documentation of these incidents, including witness statements from Jennifer's coworkers and screenshots of threatening texts. I'd like to see that documentation," Judge Morrison said. Miss Reeves approached the bench with a folder. The judge spent several minutes reviewing it, her expression neutral. "Miss Patterson, Sarah, do you have a response to these allegations?" I stood up, gripping my binder. "Your Honor, I do. Every single date listed in the complaint. I can prove I was somewhere else. I was physically incapable of doing what my sister claims." Jennifer's lawyer raised an eyebrow. "Your Honor, the defendant's claims of an alibi. I have documentation," I interrupted. "Medical documentation." Judge Morrison gestured for me to approach. I walked forward, trying not to wince as my shoulder protested the movement. I handed her my binder. "These are organized by date, Your Honor. Each tab corresponds to one of the alleged incidents." The judge opened to the first tab. "September 15th, the day Jennifer claimed I'd shown up at her real estate office and caused a scene." "This is a hospital admission form," Judge Morrison said slowly. "Yes, Your Honor. From Mercy General. I was admitted on September 14th at 11:47 p.m. after the accident. I wasn't discharged until September 18th. I watched the judge's eyes move down the page. Patient name, Sarah Patterson. Injuries, fractured clavicle, 2 fractured ribs, Severe contusions, mild concussion. Admitted for observation and pain management. Jennifer's face had gone very pale. Judge Morrison flipped to the next tab. September 28th. Physical therapy appointment at the Rehabilitation Center of Orange County, I said. 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. My therapist can testify I was there. I have the sign-in sheet with my signature and the timestamp. The judge moved to October 3rd. Follow-up appointment with my orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Elizabeth Chen, 2 p.m. The alleged harassment at Jennifer's workplace was reported to have occurred at 2:30 p.m. that same day, 25 miles away. I was still in Dr. Chen's office. There's a notation in my file about adjusting my medication dosage because I was having breakthrough pain. I saw Miss Reeves lean over to whisper something to Jennifer. Jennifer shook her head, her lips moving in what looked like I'm sure. Judge Morrison continued through the binder. Each tab held the same pattern: hospital records, physical therapy logs, doctor's appointments, even a receipt from a pharmacy where I'd picked up prescriptions. October 7th. MRI at Advanced Imaging Center, 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. October 12th. Another PT session, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. October 19th. Emergency room visit for severe shoulder pain, admitted at 9 p.m. November 2nd. Consultation with a pain management specialist. November 8th. PT session. November 14th. Follow-up with Dr. Chen. Every single date. Every single time Jennifer claimed I was harassing her. I had been in a medical facility, being treated for injuries that made it difficult to drive, to type, to even get dressed by myself. Your Honor, Miss Reeves said, her voice strained. While these documents show my client's sister had medical appointments, they don't prove she wasn't able to. Miss Reeves, Judge Morrison interrupted. Your client claimed that on September 15th at approximately 1 p.m., Sarah Patterson showed up at her workplace and banged on the windows, screaming obscenities. According to these hospital records, Sarah Patterson was heavily sedated at that time, recovering from emergency surgery to repair her fractured clavicle. The judge looked at Jennifer directly. Miss Jennifer Patterson, can you explain how your sister was able to drive 23 miles to your office, create a disturbance, and then return to the hospital without anyone noticing she was missing? She had metal pins surgically inserted into her shoulder. She was on morphine. Jennifer opened her mouth, then closed it. Someone must have made a mistake with the dates, she said finally. Multiple hospitals made mistakes with multiple dates? Judge Morrison's voice was dry. Your sister somehow managed to attend physical therapy sessions where therapists documented her limited range of motion and severe pain and also drive around harassing you? She could have hired someone, Jennifer said desperately, to pretend to be her. Hired someone to attend her medical appointments under her name? To undergo MRIs and physical examinations? The judge's tone made it clear what she thought of that explanation. Miss Reeves put a hand on Jennifer's arm, but Jennifer pulled away. She's manipulating everything, Jennifer said, her voice rising. Just like she manipulated our parents into leaving her the cabin. She's always been the favorite, always gotten everything she wanted. This is just more of the same. Miss Patterson. Judge Morrison's voice cut through Jennifer's rant like a knife. That's enough. The courtroom went silent. The judge looked down at my binder again, then at the folder Miss Reeves had provided. Miss Reeves, do you have any actual evidence that places Sarah Patterson at any of these alleged incident locations? Security camera footage, credit card receipts, gas station records, cell phone tower data? Miss Reeves shuffled through her papers. We have witness statements from my client's coworkers, who claimed to have seen someone they believed to be Sarah Patterson. Had any of these coworkers met her before? Well, no, Your Honor, but Jennifer showed them a photo. So they saw someone who looked like Sarah Patterson, based on a photograph Jennifer showed them. Judge Morrison sat back in her chair. And the threatening text messages? They came from an unknown number, Miss Reeves admitted, but the content clearly. Miss Patterson, Sarah, did you send any text messages to your sister during September, October, or November of last year? No, Your Honor. I didn't have the physical ability to type with one hand in a sling and the other barely functional. I couldn't even hold my phone properly. My neighbor had to help me answer emails for work. I reached into my bag and pulled out one more document. I also have a statement from Dr. Chen, my orthopedic surgeon. She examined me on October 3rd and noted in her report that I had significant muscle atrophy in my right arm and hand from disuse. She documented that I couldn't make a fist or grip objects with that hand. There's a photograph in the file showing the bruising and swelling. I handed the document to the judge. Judge Morrison read it, her jaw tightening. Then she turned to Jennifer. Miss Jennifer Patterson, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I expect a truthful answer. Did any of these incidents actually occur? Jennifer's face crumpled. For a moment, I thought she might tell the truth. Yes, she whispered. Someone was harassing me. It had to be Sarah. Who else would? Who else would want to harass you? Judge Morrison finished. That's an interesting question, but it's not the relevant question. The relevant question is whether your sister, who was recovering from serious injuries, actually committed the harassment you're alleging. She closed my binder with a definitive thud. Based on the evidence presented today, I find that the plaintiff has failed to provide any credible evidence supporting her allegations. The defendant, however, has provided extensive documentation proving she could not have been present at the alleged incident locations. This case is dismissed. Your Honor, Miss Reeves started. Furthermore, Judge Morrison continued, her voice hardening, I'm concerned about the nature of these allegations. Miss Jennifer Patterson, your sister was recovering from a traumatic accident. She was in pain, undergoing multiple medical procedures, and trying to heal. And during that time, you filed a lawsuit accusing her of stalking you, knowing or having reason to know that she was physically incapable of doing so. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears. You wanted the cabin. I said it quietly, but everyone heard. You've wanted it ever since you found out what it's worth now. You thought if you could prove I was unstable, untrustworthy, you could challenge the sale, get it back. That's not I was scared. You were never scared of me, I said, and suddenly I was tired. So tired. You were angry. You've been angry since Mom and Dad died, and you realized you couldn't control what happened to their things. But filing a false lawsuit? Claiming I was stalking you when I could barely get out of bed? Judge Morrison held up a hand. Miss Sarah Patterson, I understand your frustration. However, I need to address the legal implications here. She turned back to Jennifer. Miss Jennifer Patterson, filing a frivolous lawsuit is a serious matter. Filing a lawsuit that includes false allegations under penalty of perjury could constitute an abuse of the legal process. Jennifer had gone white. I'm going to order you to pay your sister's costs associated with defending against this lawsuit. Additionally, I'm referring this matter to the State Bar for review of your attorney's conduct in bringing this case. Miss Reeves stood up quickly. Your Honor, I had no knowledge that these allegations were... You had a duty to investigate before filing. That investigation should have included obtaining proof that the defendant was actually capable of committing the alleged harassment. Did you ask to see medical records? Did you question why someone recovering from serious injuries would be driving around stalking her sister? Miss Reeves sat down, her face flushed. Judge Morrison looked at me. Miss Sarah Patterson, do you wish to pursue any counterclaims? I thought about it. I could sue Jennifer for defamation, for emotional distress, for the cost of preparing my defense. I could make her life as difficult as she'd tried to make mine. But I was so tired. No, Your Honor. I just want this to be over. The judge nodded slowly. Very well. Case dismissed. Miss Jennifer Patterson, you're ordered to pay $5,000 to cover your sister's documented expenses. You have 30 days to make payment. The gavel came down. I gathered my binder, my hands shaking. Jennifer and Miss Reeves left quickly, not looking at me. I stayed seated for a moment, letting the adrenaline drain away. My shoulder was throbbing. I'd need to take pain medication when I got home, probably lie down for a few hours. As I walked out of the courtroom, I passed the bench where Jennifer had been sitting earlier. She was there now, crying. Miss Reeves talking to her in a low, urgent voice. I kept walking. Outside, the October sun was bright and warm. I sat on a bench in the courthouse plaza, tilting my face toward the light. My phone buzzed. A text from my physical therapist. Hope the hearing went okay? Remember, we have our session tomorrow at 10. Bring your resistance bands. I texted back. It went fine. See you tomorrow. Fine. It went fine. I'd won, if you could call it that. My sister had tried to destroy my credibility, my reputation, possibly my chance at keeping the one thing I had left from our parents. And I'd stopped her, armed with nothing but medical records and the truth. But winning didn't feel like I'd thought it would. That night, I stood in the cabin. I'd driven up after the hearing, needing to be somewhere that felt like home. The place was exactly as I'd left it. Mom's quilt still on the beds, Dad's fishing gear still hanging by the door. I sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the lake, and thought about Jennifer, about the sister who used to braid my hair and teach me how to ride a bike, the sister who'd held my hand at both of our parents' funerals. The sister who just tried to take everything from me because she couldn't accept that sometimes life doesn't divide evenly, that sometimes someone gets something you wanted, and the only thing you can do is let it go. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Sarah? It was Jennifer's voice, small and broken. I didn't say anything. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I was so angry, and I thought. I don't know what I thought. That you didn't deserve it, that it should have been mine. And when I heard someone was following me, I just assumed. You assumed it was me because you wanted it to be me, I said quietly. You wanted an excuse to take the cabin back, to prove I was the bad guy. I know. She was crying. I know that now. Sarah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about the lawsuit. I'm sorry about everything. Is there any way we can fix this? I looked out at the lake, at the mountains beyond, at the place our parents had loved. I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know if we can. Will you try? Her voice broke. Please? I closed my eyes, felt the evening breeze on my face, smelled the pine trees and lake water. Maybe, I said finally, but not now. I need time. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I understand. She hung up. I sat there until the stars came out, my shoulder aching, my heart heavier than I'd expected. Victory shouldn't feel like this hollow and sad and lonely, but maybe that's what happens when you win against someone you once loved. When the price of being right is losing a piece of your past you can never get back. The cabin would be mine. The judge had made sure of that. But the sister I remembered, the one before the grief and anger and greed twisted her into someone I didn't recognize, that sister was gone. And no courtroom victory could bring her back. I went inside, locked the door, and for the first time since the accident, I cried. Not from pain, not from fear, but from the simple, terrible knowledge that some things, once broken, can never be repaired. No matter how much evidence you have, no matter how right you are, some losses aren't about what you lose in court. They're about who you lose along the way.